Now, Dennis Prager is founder of PragerU. It's important to understand that PragerU is not a university. It has nothing to do with higher education or academia. PragerU prides itself as releasing short videos that are designed to sway public opinion and sway public opinion in a more conservative fashion, a more socially conservative fashion. He's a conservative talk show host. He's part of the conservative media that we see. Now, Dennis Prager is an Orthodox Jew. Now, I'm not trying to get in trouble like Nick Cannon or even DeSean Jackson in getting into any anti-Semitism, even though sometimes mentioning the word Jew can now simply insinuate that you're an anti-Semite. My issue in bringing up the fact that Mr. Prager is an Orthodox Jew is his perspective on the world. He wrote a book called Why the Jews? The Reason for Anti-Semitism. The author wrote that hatred of the Jews arises from resentment over Jews' acceptance of the doctrine that they are God's chosen people, charged with bringing a moral message to the world. The book says that calls for Jews to culturally assimilate as well as opposition to Zionism are both forms of anti-Semitism. Now, it's important to put that into perspective. He's claiming that God chose a separate people and gave them a moral message that they're now charged to take to the rest of the world. That means that the rest of the people are not connected to God and can't get God's message themselves. This makes the Jewish people, from this perspective, a superior people, a people that would be chosen by God, separating them from other folks. And now what he says is that any Jew who wants to assimilate, that now want to join the rest of the society are evil. And I would say evil because it says the book describes secular Jews as people who have lost their way and who generally fall into the error of applying Judaism's mission to reform the world in ways that tend to be leftist, totalitarian, and destructive, effectively saying anyone who wants to be more secular or, maybe join the world and let go of some of these old world thoughts are evil. This claim of a separate people chosen by God to deliver a message that nobody else can hear is the very root of supremacy. It's the very root of European or white supremacy, in that it is something that cannot be true for the rest of us. The rest of us understand that we are also connected to God and can hear God's messages. No one is disconnected from their spirit unless they're so lost or distracted in a world of consumerism and symbolism that they can't hear their own moral voice, their own moral understanding. Higher education now has begun to challenge fundamentalist religion and its notions about history. In challenging the historicity of religion, specifically in this case, the Abrahamic branch of religion, now these conservatives don't want to hear the science. They don't want to be educated in this way. This is what's behind the whole school choice thing. They want to be able to fund their own Christian schools, their own segregated Christian private schools. They feel that now they can use this play on words to say school choice and now begin to take money away from the public school system and put it into private Christian institutions. It's a way of circumventing what we collectively know, or we call knowledge, and continuing to apply the old medieval concepts of history. Again, this history based in white supremacy. As of 2018, it spent around 40% of its annual $10 million budget on marketing. Each video is produced according to a consistent style. Videos cover topics such as racism, sexism, income inequality, gun ownership, Islam, immigration, Israel, police brutality, and speech on college campuses. What's important here is the bigger piece of this, which is that PragerU is a nonprofit. It is funded by, of course, billionaires. No shock to that. The biggest billionaires that supported it, the biggest funders of PragerU, have been Dan and Ferris Wilks, who we'll get into, as well as something called the Lynd and Harry Bradley Foundation. I'm only going to touch the top two donors. And so we start off with Dan and Ferris Wilks. They're, of course, the American petroleum industry. What I'd like to just simply touch on is who they are and where they stand in things, or their perspective of the world. They've supported Senator Ted Cruz in 2016. They gave him about $15 million. They gave $15 million to a super political action committee backing Cruz. $15 million backing this guy. And if you know who Ted Cruz is, he looks like George McCarthy, and he acts just as bombastic and ignorant as the man. Look up Ben Shapiro, because these men also backed him in the Daily Wire. So these men, Ben Shapiro, they put together this right-wing media arm called the Daily Wire. I just want to touch on the fact that these men are billionaires, and they are playing a very big role in our politics. They're playing a very big role in propaganda for the conservative media. Understanding their views of the world is important as well. Ferris Wilks is married to Joanne and the father of 11 children. He is the current pastor and bishop of the Assembly of Yahweh. Currently, the Assembly of Yahweh is a conservative Jews for Jesus type congregation. It teaches that the true religion is Jewish, not a Gentile religion. And its members celebrate the Old Testament holidays rather than those related to the New Testament. The congregation considers the Old Testament historically and scientifically accurate. The congregation considers homosexuality and abortion to be crimes. So understand, these billionaires, these one percenters, are for school choice for that reason, again, of funding private Christian schools. And they fundamentally believe that the Old Testament is historically accurate and scientifically accurate. What does that mean for everything we understand today within academia? What happens if we allow these people to educate our children in a way that does not allow them to fully explore reality, right? To take the Old Testament as literal history is to believe that the earth is only 6,000 years old. And again, these are the men funding and paying Candace Owens to say the shit that she's saying. The other backer of PragerU and Candace Owens is the Bradley Foundation. Now, the Bradley Foundation is an ultra-conservative foundation. Again, it's worth upwards $900 million. The organization was founded in an attempt to preserve and extend the principles and philosophies of the Bradley brothers. Now, of course, we know the principles and the philosophies of the Bradley brothers, most likely, as they are also ultra-social conservatives. The Bradley Foundation put a lot of money into the Citizens United ruling that the conservative courts ruled, which opened the floodgates for corporations to participate in our elections. They also were behind the Hobby Lobby case that argued corporations should have a say in women's health care. It basically said that corporations should be allowed to claim religious freedom and deny contraceptives to their female employees. They argued that corporations are people with religious views, and in that they pushed for your boss to be able to deny you contraceptives based on their religious understanding. If I'm working for someone, I'm just working for them. I should not have to live under their dogmatic rules. Between 2008 and 2011, the Bradley Foundation donated millions of dollars to three anti-Muslim groups: the David Horowitz Freedom Center, which received $4.2 million, Frank Gaffney's Center for Security Policy, which received $815,000, and Daniel Pipe's Middle East Forum, which received just about $300,000. The foundation's funding was criticized by the Council on American Islamic Relations, which described the grant recipients as an Islamophobic network. Now, if you know anything about conservative media, it is this network of fear. Organizations awarded grants by the foundation have included Freedom Works, Americans for Prosperity, the Heritage Foundation, the Hoover Institute, the Black Alliance for Educational Options, and the Seed Foundation. Now, you did hear correctly. There is the Black Alliance for Educational Options. That is school choice. The end around to be able to really get a message for school choice is to say that they're empowering Black parents to have choice. Understand something. A lot of African American families have accepted fundamentalist Christianity, and so they are behind Christian schools. So they are able to reach into Black culture and share an understanding in their Christian fundamentalism. But understand something. This same Christian fundamentalism is what the slave masters taught. It's the same Christian fundamentalism of the evangelical Christians. It's the same fundamentalist Christianity that would have people leave church, come out of church, and participate in a good old lynching. It's the same Christianity that believes slavery is biblical and okay. It's the same fundamentalist Christianity that teaches race is real. And this is where we find someone like a Candace Owens, who has a grandfather who probably really bought into Christian fundamentalism. There's a lot of African Americans who believe as long as they do right by their Christian teaching, that they will end up in heaven. This theology was important for slaves in that it was a way to spiritually bypass the suffering that they were under from slavery, from the KKK, from Jim Crow, from redlining, from incarceration, and on and on and on. There is true spiritual philosophy within Christian teachings. It's just there's a difference between understanding it from a spiritual sense and understanding it from a symbolic, a literal, a fundamentalist perspective. This is what someone like a Candace Owens doesn't understand, that you've been given a history that is not yours. You've been given a perspective of the world that is not yours. And because you are backwards in your understanding, you stand against your own people. Because these same Christian fundamentalists are backwards in their understanding, they stand against their own people. There is no white people, black people. There's people. When we can drop this white supremacy of a chosen people, of a blue blood, a bloodline, a heritage of truth, they've got the right religion. We are all children of God, and we are all chosen when we accept the fact that we are loved. That's the universal spiritual teaching that comes from Islam, that comes from Judaism, that comes from Christianity, that goes all the way back to Kemet, that flowed to Greece and Rome. But one thing Candace Owens and the rest of the black conservatives like to say is that BLM is backed by Democrats. Something she says in her show is that now she knows who and what is behind Black Lives Matter, and so she can't take it serious. Well, we can all see who's behind her. We can all see the social conservatives who are Christian fundamentalists, right? To be a Christian fundamentalist, to claim that the Bible is history, that flies in the face of everything that we know within academia, which is a collective understanding of knowledge. To say that none of that matters, the Bible is true over that, that's something I can't accept as an African American. That's something I don't think any other indigenous person who now understands what colonization is can accept. It's this Christian fundamentalism, Islamic fundamentalism, Judaic fundamentalism that is the problem with the world today. The wars that we see happening in the Middle East are because these people are claiming that they all have the one true religion. When, if you simply look at it historically, it's the same fucking thing.